And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast, along with my partners Brian Siegel and Jonathan Talley, and our special guest, the hardest working man in Hokie podcast land, Mike McDaniel from the Hokie Hangover. I am Curtis Wilson. And this episode is brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts at the Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy located at 301 South Main Street in Blacksburg. Mike, hey, buddy.
What's up? What's going on?
How you been,
man? I thought if I came on this podcast this week, we might have a chance to actually win a game. You know, I've been recapping all these games on my podcast, and nothing good has happened yet. So I was thinking if I went on another Virginia Tech podcast, maybe something good would happen this week.
Let's mix it up. Let's do things a little different. See if we can get a different outcome, because if we're being honest, I mean, it has not looked good the last 3 weeks.
No, not at all.
It's not look good.
Bad.
It's not look good at all. Good evening, LeVar. Always good to hear from you, man. Down in the 7-5. It hasn't, boys. It has been a rough last 3 weeks. Hokies sit at 1-3 after the 24-17 loss to Marshall. The first time they have beat the Hokies in 83 years. That's right, 83 years. Write that down.
Big yikes.
And before we get into all that, got a couple things. Obviously, we always are pumping it Rowdy for Robbie this year to support testicular cancer. Not sure what lot it's going to be in yet. Trying to get with Grayson on that. Look at that. Once we know, we will tweet it out. Go visit, get yourself one. And it will be always at the pharmacy, $7. Venmo only. They do accept Venmo and cash there. Before I get into the game, there's two things we got to talk about. First of all, let's talk about Pop Watson. He was suspended indefinitely. He has since been reinstated and is all suspended with requirements.
This is what happens when we record before the Tuesday presser, man. Like, we don't get to actually talk about the news when it happened, and now it's like it's already over.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Well, good. We glad that's over.
Yes, we are.
Definitely glad it's over, but I mean, like, you know, we had talked about it elsewhere off camera here, like,
Yeah.
and definitely got taken with and ran. But I mean, that's if it's only 1 week, that's when you know, just say it's 1 week.
Yeah, say it's a week.
You can't
or say it's Pop needs to take some steps before he's back with the team. Don't say indefinitely. Indefinitely makes people think he's out till November.
Oh God!
And then don't forget, somebody comes up and says, "Well, the last person that was suspended indefinitely killed a man." I'm like, Jesus Christ, we can't win, man. We can't win on Twitter. We can't win on the field. We fucked up all around. Thank you, Virginia Tech Twitter. You keep my life interesting.
And it started with Fry winning every press conference and winning over everybody, and now it's like every little thing gets nitpicked when you only win 4 out of your first 15 games. So that's what happens.
Oh yeah.
Everything will be nitpicked.
You can't even tweet the 1-0 graphic anymore because that's going to get trolled all to hell.
Oh yeah, they killing it. I seen one of the coaches say something about God or thank you, Jesus.
I saw that.
And somebody said, "You gonna have to."
Was it Quinn or Marv? It was one of the two.
I
can't
don't know,
which.
man.
It was Marv.
It was Marv. I'm pretty sure it was Marv.
I had it messed up, y'all.
It was Marv.
Hey man, some of y'all out there ruthless, man.
They are ruthless. They are ruthless.
That's a passionate fan base, man. But that's why we show up in 65,000 in the seats for a 1-3 team coming off a 3-win season.
Pitt game sold out. Super interesting to see it sold out beforehand. It'll be interesting to see second on ACC Network how many people are actually there. I'm not going. Mike, you going this week?
He lagging a little bit.
I think we lagging. Tally, you ain't going, obviously. See, you ain't going.
No,
are you?
I'm not going.
All right, we'll let him. We'll let Mike get sorted out here. He is lagging there. But let's talk about the other thing it broke today. I think this had been in the works for quite a while, where the Hokies are moving their home game headquarters from the Hotel Roanoke to Blacksburg at the inn in Blacksburg. This was a David Teal article. It is going to cost the department about $100+ more a year, but I mean, if you've got something that can accommodate Okay. There we go.
Oh, he came back. He left again.
Left again. We'll let Mike figure it out here. But if you have the amenities in Blacksburg to keep the team 5 minutes from the field, please do that. It's almost an hour ride with a bus up 81 to Blacksburg from Hotel Roanoke.
We've had enough travel issues so far this year that we don't need to continue adding to that run, right? So
We don't.
you got a late plane. I mean, let's keep it simple. Wasn't there something else that happened in the travel that threw things off? I can't remember what it was.
Well, the Rutgers, the plane, they went there, they went back, and all that stuff. To my knowledge, nothing else travel-wise happened. They did mention at one point this year, like there had been some issues coming up 81 that had delayed them, which makes sense because they're roughly leaving there, 4 hours before the game. How much of the traffic from the 7-5, the 804, and Nova's coming in at that point in time, getting in 2 or 3 hours beforehand? Of course, there's going to be traffic delays.
Right.
And right now we've lost Mike, so we're going to try to get him back in here.
He said his computer crashed. He's getting back up. We're good.
We will get him. But do y'all like that? I mean, y'all both played, collegiate ball and stuff. How far did y'all stay from your home stadium, Tally?
Well, I mean, it was. I can see good and bad, I guess, in why you do that. Because sometimes you want to be, away just to have your team, just not really run into people, just focus on the game. You know what I'm saying? But of course, we're dinosaurs now, so you got social media. They got their phones. They're not just gonna be with the team anyway. And most of everybody knows where they stay, so you're gonna run into fans there as well. So I mean, yeah. I feel like why waste it? Why, like you said, why cause more problems going and taking off when you can just be right around the corner? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, when I played, we used to stay in the Wyandotte Hotel for game nights sometimes for the home games. Big home games. We actually didn't. We didn't do it for every home game. Curtis knows that because Curtis knows I would occasionally DD for that motherfucker on Friday nights if I didn't have to go to the hotel.
Yes, he did because he couldn't sleep. Too amped up.
Yeah, I mean, when night before a game, if I got to sleep before 2 or 3, I was doing something good. Even on road trips in a hotel, I just got amped up and. That was just kind of my routine. So I was like, if I'm awake, I might as well do something productive with my night.
What do you think about it, Mike? I mean, did you read the Teal article or see it or hear about it, the moving from the Hotel Roanoke back to the inn at Blacksburg, and what are your thoughts on it? Oh, no, not again. His head was moving, and then it didn't.
Yeah,
move.
I read it. No, I'm here. Don't worry. I'm here. No, I read it. My thoughts... My thoughts on it are, look, it makes a lot of sense, right? I think this is one of those things where, when your program is struggling, you're looking for a layup literally anywhere, right? And I think this is one of those things where, David Teal writes his story and, the staff is looking for anything good in a moment where the team's really struggling, things are going really poorly. And I think when you pen this story and you put it out there, any positive press right now for this football program is good press. And being like, okay, there's a reason why we're doing this. It's, something that will bring the recruits, around the team, have them be, part of the weekend, have it be a little bit easier to the Virginia Tech end. That way they're right there on campus all weekend. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I don't know why they weren't doing that before, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it seems like this was something that started back in the Beamer era. Again, glad it's there. Also, if you read the article, Mike, you saw too, it was one of those things with recruits on campus Friday nights now, the coaches literally can just go meet with them. They can set up visits and all that. The other big part, and this is wild, you spend how much money on the Beamer barn? You weren't using it for walkthroughs on game days. now they're going to use it as their walkthrough on game days versus one of the conference rooms at Hotel Roanoke. So it makes perfect sense in all of that.
Right.
All right. Well, let's just get to it, y'all, because we can't hide it. We got a lot of people. Yeah, right. Tell us, Dwight. We got to tell the truth Tuesday, and we've got a lot of stuff to do. We got a lot of
Welcome
stuff
aboard, Mikey.
Welcome aboard, Mike. They all love you here. But we got to tell the truth Tuesday. Mike, what we do here is we talk about what went well, what went bad, did anything happen we were not prepared for, and what can we do better moving forward. This is a philosophy told to us by our buddy Robbie Company. He's a coach down in North Carolina, and they developed this from Pete Carroll. So you know where it's coming from. But let's talk about the first one. And this isn't a long list today. It's the shortest of the year so far. But what went well? What went well? Anybody want to talk about anything?
For 2 quarters, we run the ball pretty damn well.
We did.
Yeah.
Best run we had all year.
Yeah. I mean,
Explosive runs,
Yep.
a couple sustained drives.
Yeah, how many yards did Tootin average? Was it like 6, 7?
Tootin was at 9.8. Tootin almost averaged a 10 spot.
They should have gave him
6.
They should have gave him the ball like he was Jamal Anderson back with the Falcons. They should have gave him the ball 35 times. And I would have told Drones, you are running back until you throw for over 300 yards. When you drop back, just fucking run. They ain't stopping us from running, so why are we stopping running?
Again, we going with the Rod Evans one read and go.
Yeah, let me slow back down. We talk about what went well. I think somebody put the quick start. The quick start was good. You know, again, let me put this disclaimer out there right quick. I did not watch the game Saturday. My son had a baseball tournament that I was at. So we were in Coleman, Alabama, which has no service at all.
It don't sound like it has service.
No, it had no service at all. So, I mean, like I was getting updates on the way home. Marshall just scored again. And when I say on the way home at 8 o'clock at night, I'm getting updates then. But I did not watch, reading Twitter and talking to the guys. I knew what happened, but I didn't watch the game until earlier today. I didn't plan to watch it, but I knew we had to do a show. I was like, yeah, I probably better watch it. So I watched it earlier today. So that's just a disclaimer I wanted to put out for everybody. But the quick start was, I guess, here or getting the text from Curtis and saying, hey, look at that, we scored. Do y'all realize that we hadn't scored a touchdown all year in the first quarter? The only points that we had got in the first quarter, I think, was the safety against Old Dominion. It's not good, man. It's not freaking good. But we're on.
And they gave us that. It wasn't like we really earned it. They just snapped the ball into the next damn city.
They gave us back one from 2020.
Yeah, we snapped the ball into Williamsburg from Norfolk, and they snapped one
to Roanoke.
Fucking Blacksburg to Roanoke. So it's
right.
Mike, what else? We hit a couple spots here. There ain't many bright spots. What else went well in your opinion?
So this is for 25 carries for Rasheen Lee. The rushing defense actually played really well for 25 carries. Just want to emphasize.
Disclaimer. He had more. He had a couple more than 25.
He had 27. He had 27 for 174 and 2 touchdowns. He also had 25 carries. He had 25 carries for 57 yards. He had 2 carries for 117 yards, 2 touchdowns. So for 25 carries, the rushing defense was very, very good. Which, I mean, it seems ridiculous to even bring this up, given those were 2 of the biggest plays of the game, right, for Marshall's offense. But that was, in my opinion, it was a step in the right direction for much of the game against the run. Now, of course, you look at the 2 touchdown runs. What was the issue? It was the run fits again, right? And it keeps rearing its ugly head. But I was actually encouraged by the rushing defense for a good portion of the game, even though it was the 2 carries that ended up costing Tech, and it really just led to the outcome.
Yeah. And Mike, we were talking about it just before that. You take those 2 runs out, they average 2.1 a carry.
Yeah.
on the other 42 carries they had. They pounded the shit out of the ball. 2.1.
Wouldn't you though? Like,
oh, I would too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, who would?
I mean,
even
if we're showing a propensity to stop the run consistently, we're also showing that we will give up explosive plays in the run game. So if you keep running the ball, you're eventually going to hit something.
You're going to hit one. Now, there's one other actually bright spot. We forced 2 turnovers. We had 2 picks Saturday. We didn't do anything with them, but it's still the whole.
One of those was part of the fast start. So
one of those was part of the fast start. But again, we have 2 picks, and we are. I mean, what are we up to? 5 now turnovers. I think we were at 7 total last year.
Yeah, something like that. Not many.
Where's John?
We're on a better pace right now, but
yeah,
you know, we're going to talk about it a little bit. That's the part of the problem I have is that we're seeing steps up in some areas and steps down in others, and we can't ever get those steps up to sync with the with not taking a step back. So
it's true. All right, y'all got anything else on what went well?
I think that's it.
That's it, man.
That's it.
We got a lot here. We got a lot here for what went bad, and I'm gonna start this one out because this one is the one that I think could have really changed it. The what went bad. I think Coach Price, hyper aggressive, go for it on 4th down, up 7. We're already got the lead. I think it's 4th and 3.5 from the 36. Brian, you did the math. 47-yard field goal.
Kick it.
Take
the point.
You go up 10.
I think it was the 32.
It was 32. But when I texted you, you said 47-yard field goal.
Yep.
We've seen John Love. He's got the leg to get there. Take it. You get them down 10-0 to Brian's point just a few minutes ago. Now they might not be able to just continue to pound the ball because we're down 2 scores now. If they stop us and we get 2.1, 2.1, 2.1, we got a punt, and we could be losing grasp of this game.
Well, go ahead, Curtis.
No.
It's just football 1-on-1 too. It's like most people know when you get a turnover, what's the first thing you want to do?
Score.
You want to try to go down the field. You want to try to take a shot right after a turnover. You get the ball in plus territory, and you're only able to move it, 20 yards, I think, 19 yards, something like that, if that much. Like, why go for it on that 4th down when we can at least give ourselves a chance? You know what I'm saying? Like, we weren't moving the ball very well, so there's no reason to try to go for it there. In my opinion.
No. Tally, this was right after the scoring drive. We had just went 6 plays and 75 yards.
But I'm saying on that drive, once we got the turnover, we weren't moving the ball well enough to like have the confidence, in my opinion, to just, we're gonna throw it, because I think on that 4th down play we threw it right. Like he
threw it deep. Yeah, we got the comment right here.
Yeah, it's like why go for that? It's just the wrong call all around to me. I would have rather kicked it there and go up 10 because. Off of a turnover, if you got the opportunity to get points, let's get points. But if you're going to go for it in that situation, I feel like go for what's been working. If we've been gashing them with the run and the quarterback's legs have been killing them, why not do that?
Gentlemen, we know there's nothing. There's not a shortage of short pass calls in the Tyler Bowen playbook.
Right.
We don't need to be throwing it 30 yards down the field.
And he had 3 men on him. I'm like, why throw it to him? And some people say, well, if Drone starts, you got to give him the same energy. Drones definitely gets the same energy. Anybody who steps back there at quarterback is going to get the same energy. You can't make that throw. I don't care what kind of pressure you got. If you got the legs that he has, you got to take off the run. You have to. I get it. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just I hated the play call. I didn't hate the decision to go for it. I was actually okay with that. I mean, the 47-yard field, like if this is inside 40 yards, right, with Love, I feel better about it. I get Love has the leg, but from an accuracy standpoint, 47-yard field goal, you miss it. You're giving up a bunch of field position anyway, right? I'm of the opinion that, to Brian's point on the short passing game, I mean, Bowen calls short passes all game long, and then we decide to air it out deep down the sideline on 4th and 3. I hated the play call. I mean, it was the wrong read by Drones too, I think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, throwing it downfield, it really well covered. I mean, that had no shot of getting completed. So I just hated the play call. But the decision to go for it, I was actually okay with. I appreciate the aggressiveness because, right out the gate, you go down and score, right? And then you get an interception. And now for the first time all season, really, it feels like you have some positive momentum, like with a lead, right? Because we've seen some positive momentum, like coming back, right? Purdue, you're down 17. Old Dominion, you're kind of screwing around. They have a good third quarter, start to pull away. But we haven't really seen Tech play from the lead much this year. And so I was okay with the aggressive decision to go for it. I just really hated the play call.
Mike said he was okay. Pride let his nuts hang a little bit in that scenariyo. Just be a little more strategic with what you do.
Keep them nuts in your pants.
He wouldn't agree with Bowen trying to let his nuts hang out, going for a touchdown in a triple coverage. All right, the other one I got, and these are mine personally because I wrote these out. 3 and outs. You know how many we had against Rutgers, Mike? How many 3 and outs we had against Rutgers?
We had 0.
We had 4 versus Marshall, and they came at the most inopportune times and the worst times all game. And that's where it frustrates you because, and I shouldn't say 3 and outs because 3 and outs, 4 and outs, because money downs we were 3 for 16. We were dreadful after having a good game against Rutgers. And it's like, Brian, what'd you just say? We took the steps up in the run game. We look more competent moving the ball. What do we do on the money downs? What did we do on the 3 and outs?
Tanked
right back down. It's the old 1 step up, 2 steps back in every scenario. Yeah. And that really screwed because the way we were moving the ball, if we could have converted 3 more third downs, I say 3 to 4 more third downs. Not a great number still under 50%. But the way we moved the ball numerous times against them, that probably took 1 score off the board.
And if you're not so awful on third down in that second quarter, you probably don't get quite that many points scored on you in that quarter. Mm-hmm. And that was the quarter that really flipped the game and put us behind the 8 ball pretty much the rest of the way out.
Yep, because it was fumble, 3 and out, 3 and out. And they went field goal, or they scored a touchdown, then they scored a field goal. And we didn't do anything to answer either one of those going into half. So, yeah. But what else? What else do y'all have up here? We have a bunch of stuff written out here. Who wants to tackle the next one?
I'll go.
Go for it, Sigma.
Offensive line pass pro was atrocious.
And we thought it was doing good. Like the run stuff was bad at first. Now the pass pro is horrible.
I think we finally hit a team that can rush the passer pretty well too.
Yeah. And
the guy that we were concerned in this situation got absolutely worked a bunch of key times, gave up a sack, bunch of like 5 or 6, I think, hurries, surrendered. I mean, it was a bad night for our right tackle. And Mike, I'll let you go. I know you were about to say something there.
I was just gonna say it's almost like Tyler Bowen should just roll the quarterback out like he was doing against Rutgers. Why are we now having Kyron Drones be a drop back passer? I don't want to dive in this too deep because I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant later on in this podcast about this. But why are we all of a sudden we're rolling him out against Rutgers, getting him real comfortable, right? Having him kind of feel the game out a little bit as a passer. And then against Marshall, we're just turning him into like Peyton Manning, like drop back, like 3 to 5 step drops. What are we doing with the passing game? I don't understand it.
You want to know why we're doing that? Inexperience. We have an inexperienced offensive coordinator that is picking fucking Madden plays and hoping that you're going to score on them. Inexperience.
Yep.
Pride, you need to go get some experience in the coaching staff at those coordinator positions. That's what the problem is.
I was disappointed that is so. 2 things happened that kind of switched up the way this kind of play calling went, right? So Bowen comes out the game. He's calling run plays. He got Kyron Drones going on a quarterback power that he broke a tackle and went up for a touchdown. Good opening scheme, right? So the play call sheet, he's like, I've scripted this. It's good to go. And then second drive, you have Tuden put it on the ground. We get back on it though. We end up getting in field goal range. End up going for it on 4th down. Mm-hmm. Then the Drones fumble happens, and it's like every time something bad happened on offense, that butthole was getting a little bit tighter. And after that drones fumble, it's like, all right, Kyron, you're gonna be throwing from the pocket for the next 2 quarters, and you're gonna like it. We're gonna have maybe 2 designed runs in the next 2 quarters for you, and you're gonna like it.
That would be great if you had people that was blocking. He was under duress every time, like the whole game, and the only way that you could beat their pass rush was to roll the quarterback.
Yep.
And if you've been coaching as long as some of these coaches have been coaching, I don't understand why you don't see this, which I'll get into when we talk about some of our stuff later on.
Yeah, can we shout out Owen Porter for absolutely working our tackles, but particularly our right tackle?
Listen, let me say something right quick. Number 70. Number 70, I don't want to call your name because I've done it too much, and I think you're a great kid, and you're probably going to make a great husband, and you're a great son. You are not a very good tackle at this point. I'm going to tell you like I tell my own son that's 13 years old that plays football. He's not a football player. He's a baseball player. Told him last night they got beat 40-6 by a team that they shouldn't have got beat 40-6. I said, enjoy this next game that you play because it's probably going to be your last football game. You ain't playing no more. That's it. We ain't wasting no time on football. We're going to go do something that's productive. Number 70, if you're a good fisher, go buy you some reels and rods, man. Go catch some big-ass bass.
With that facial hair, if he's not a good fisher, somebody did something wrong.
It's almost hunting season, man.
We a few weeks away. Mike, anything to add on any of the offensive stuff? Because what I said I called it Tyler Bowen being a Jekyll and Hyde. Because there were times it looked like genius, and it was times it looked like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His lack of
Jekyll and Hyde is right.
His lack, I think his lack of creativity. So the opening script was pretty good, obviously. Go down and score. Great. But when it comes to like big moments in the game, he won't roll the quarterback out. He won't make life a little bit easier on the offensive line. He won't just be stubborn in some ways and just stick with the run because, the running game actually looked pretty good early on, and then we just went away from it. I just think that he goes through these spurts in the middle of the game where he gets so inconsistent. He's very tentative. Like the tight butthole comment is like, that is
truth.
That is the truth. I mean, the big time moments, I mean, he just kind of, I don't want to say shrivels up, but it kind of feels that way. Right. And you have a feeling in the big moments, it's felt that way, obviously, for the first 2 years. You just have a feeling in the big moments that the offense is just not going to come through. And that's a terrible feeling.
Right.
It is.
I'll say this. Let me talk about this real quick, though, because I've seen this on both sides of the ball. Both coordinators. And I think this goes back to the inexperience that Tally was talking about and what, Mike, you were talking about. It seems like in the moment, we get really conservative because we don't want to roll the dice and take a chance that our players can make plays. So we end up playing it very conservatively, and then that bites us in the ass. So thinking about it on defense, every time the offense has a check with B when we've got a blitz going. We've checked out of the blitz almost every time. We don't say, I'm going to trust my guys to get home and make this play work.
Yeah.
Just like on the offensive side, as soon as there's a first sign of trouble, we get really conservative. All right, we're going to essentially become an air raid offense for 2 quarters because we're afraid to run the football and potentially put the ball on the ground again, and we're afraid that if we throw the ball deep, we might turn the ball over. Like at some point, you got to let your players go out there and make plays.
Yep, you got to become fearless in some point, regardless of what you are as an offensive coordinator. Mike, I'm going to do a little bit different before I pitch it to you here. I do think some of Tyler's play calls are creative. I think what you're saying is in tight moments, he does not want to get those creative play calls going.
No.
And it's like, that's the issue. It's not that he doesn't design creative plays. It's like, this is the time to pull that creative rollout with Benji Gosnell trickling back right up the seam with a crosser coming where they don't know where to go. And he's rolling. So the linebackers leaving their space. The safeties are out of place. That's what he doesn't know how to do. Now,
Agree.
Now,
I agree with that. I thought he called a pretty good game. I might be in the minority here. I thought he called a pretty good game against
did.
Rutgers. I thought the
He did.
execution wasn't there. I thought
Yeah.
the play calling was pretty good against Rutgers. I thought the play calling early in this game was pretty good, and then he just went away from it. And again, Tech was playing from behind the 8 ball right before halftime, and then on throughout the second half, and just kind of went away from what was working early in the game.
Yeah, it seemed like he didn't go back to it until it's like, all right, we're in desperation mode where if we don't score on this drive, this game is over. And that's when he finally, like, the switch finally clicked. He was like, all right, maybe we need to get back to the running game. Maybe we need to use drones in the running game to generate some offense, because you weren't generating it consistently enough with air raid concepts and a couple of inside runs with Thomas. And let's talk about it. Tootin was very effective, and Thomas had a lot of run in that second and third quarter where he was very ineffective.
Right.
And we just kept him on the field for drive after drive. So that kind of frustrated me too. I don't know if that was a call by Brooks. I don't know what who's controlling the rotation there at the running back position on a game day situation, but it just felt like we're getting back to a point in this. We had similar criticisms of the last offensive coordinator. Like, situational play calling is not where it needs to be.
Yep.
And you don't need to be great at it. You just need to be good at it. You don't need to be great. You just need to be good. All right, let's move on. Let's flip over to defense. All right, Mike, the floor is yours, man. Mike wanted to go on. This is the only reason he came on here, y'all. He wanted to go on this rant. So, Mike, floor is yours.
2 carries, 117 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Rasheen Ali. Right?
58.5 yards per carry.
That's pretty good for 2 runs. Then he also had 25 other runs that went for 57 yards and averaged just over 2 yards per carry. The run fit issues are just unfathomable. I don't understand it. Like, the linebacker play in particular has been so bad. And I get that there's personnel issue, there's mismatched personnel, guys playing out of position at linebacker. I get all that. And they're trying to get more athletic and more talented. There's no excuse for the run fits. That's got nothing, like, being more athletic and getting more talented at linebacker. That's got nothing to do with run fits, right? Fill the gap on the run, right? You call defense, you have a defensive play call, fill the gap you're supposed to fill. And how many times this year have we seen explosive runs through the first 4 games that should never have happened? It's just fundamental football. I mean, that's all that it is. It's just fundamental football. We can have a conversation about, okay, linebackers aren't big enough, or they're not fast enough, not athletic enough, they're not wrapping up. We can have that conversation. That's not what this is about. It's a run fit issue. It's been a run fit issue and hasn't been corrected. Brent Pry led unbelievably good defenses at Penn State, led good defenses at Vanderbilt under Franklin. And he comes here, and I get that he wants to kind of bring Chris Marvel along, have him under his wing, have this defense, like, in his image, right? He's got the scheme that he wants to implement. He's got the guy that he wants to bring along and mentor, right? The issue is that Pry was over-involved defensively last year, and I thought the defense throughout the year, given how bad the offense was, I thought the defense hung in there last year. Pry is now more hands-off, and everything's going to hell. Tech had some issues on defense last year. It was run-fit issues from time to time. It wasn't like this, though. This is unbelievable to me, how bad the run fits are. And I get they're down to, you're down 2 starting safeties. I get that. Yeah. You've had, injuries on the defense. I understand all of that. But there's just no excuse for the run fit issues through 4 games now, right? We're going into conference play against a Pittsburgh team, and we'll talk about it in a bit, that's not that great, right? Not very good. And I've got zero confidence that this team's going to stop the run on Saturday. Zero confidence. Because I think they can do it in spurts. Obviously, there was, 25 out of the 27 carries by Ali on Saturday against Marshall. They did it. But
yeah, they're pretty good.
Pretty good. But it's the 2 that they didn't, which end up costing you the football game. And it's been kind of a week-over-week thing. And it's just been inconsistency on the defensive side of the football has now become a hallmark of a Brent Pry head coach team, which is the problem.
It's the inconsistency of stopping the run, and that's what it is. Because if you look at the other metrics, Mike, and I'm sure you have, and y'all probably have too, we're like upper echelon pass defense. Well, we always go back to, well, if you can run the ball on us, you're not going to pass the ball.
Not
That
gonna
makes
throw it.
sense. We force turnovers. We forced 3 interceptions. We are a middle of the pack team in TFLs. We are a middle of the pack team in sacks. You start looking at the metrics, we're okay at stopping third down. And it says, okay, we're okay here. It's the one glaring issue, right? It's the one glaring issue that I think if you said it's somehow between now and the end of next month, it can get fixed. This team will go from us wanting to throw shit to probably being like, you know what? That used to be a 35-yard run. It's a 10-yard run now.
Well,
It's a first down, yes, but it's not killing you. And that's what it is. Go back and look every game this year we've played. Every game. The big runs is what's killed us. The big runs are why we're losing the games. We can talk about the other shit. Y'all know that. But that's what's losing us the games. It's not, we didn't
lost them last year.
We lost them last year. I lost Pitt last year. Jesus Christ.
Yep.
We don't want to talk about Pitt last year. We're talking about Pitt this year.
But you know what, Brian? But hold on. Can I say something real quick? I'm gonna give you a floor tally in a second. We are stepped back. We're in the Pitt to Georgia Tech phase again. We've taken that step back because look at the games. We're not getting the shit kicked out of us like we did against UNC, like we did against West Virginia, like some of those early games. We're not. It's that same threshold where we were last year from Pitt up to Liberty, where we do one fucking thing wrong. We make one bad fit. We screw up one bad penalty, one holding, one false start. One false start on Saturday, by the way. 4th and 1 to 4th and 6 with the game on the line.
Bitch.
It's one little do y'all see what I'm saying? It's like we thought we were over that, and now we're right back in it.
Yeah, we were hoping this year, as Tally is prone to say, that we were in the win by a little stage, but we're back in the lose by a little stage.
Mm-hmm.
So go, Tally.
Well, the thing because the thing that's concerning is like Brett Pry is a defensive coach. Mm-hmm. You know, you came to no matter what Virginia Tech wants to be, they're known as a defensive school. You know, like we've always been known to have the lunch pail defense. Take that away. We don't have to be the lunch pail anymore because we can't fucking stop nobody from scoring. But anyway, Pry is a defensive coach, and I just don't see him like with the fire when things are going wrong because he's seen it. Like I have no doubt that he has in his mind how things are supposed to look and how he can fix it. But standing on the sideline, writing stuff down on a piece of paper ain't fixing it. You know, doing it at practice ain't fixing it. Maybe in the game, you need to get in a coach's ass or a player's ass or put somebody else in. I don't know what the right thing to do is. That's why I'm not getting paid $4 million to coach the team. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, as a defensive coach going to a defensive school, you can't keep having the same defensive problems and think that everybody's going to be okay with it. Like at some point, you got to win. And I don't just mean win on like in the win column. I mean, not have explosive play. They threw a touchdown and beat us. It's got to be something different. We keep saying the same thing over and over, kind of like what Mike said, what Curtis said. And for me, it's the head coach. Like it's on him. It's the second year. We're regressing. We're seeing the same thing over that we seen last year. And hell, it's embarrassing at this point. You know, you're getting commentators that's starting to say stuff that are just like, well, sooner or later, Virginia Tech's going to have to leave, have to do more than just have a cool entrance. They said something like that the other day. I've been saying that, but when I hear somebody else say it, it pisses me off, you know? So the head coach, and again, like Mike said, and I'm going to give it back to you, Curtis, he was so great at press conferences in the offseason. I think he has to flip a switch now, and he has to, kind of like Biggie said, you got to lean into the beef sometime. You got to address the hard stuff. You got to start saying, look, I hear what y'all are saying about this team, and we're going to fix it. Yep. If we got to scorch the earth, we're going to make sure that this works. Instead of just doing the, hey, we're going to make it. It's going to be okay. We kind of get now. We're doing, hey, man, stop the sweet talking.
You know what I want? You know what I want? You talk about the Biggie blind. I want the inner defensive coordinator in him to come out. because defensive coordinators don't act like that on the sidelines. We saw Bud for years. We even saw, you ever watch some of the Penn State games? He was a fiery guy on the sideline.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got to find that, because I think that's what's missing on that side of the ball.
I think so.
On that side of the ball. And we sat down, Mike, for the Purdue game. We were right behind the bench. Chris Marv, give Chris Marv credit. Chris Marv did have fire on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him like getting in guys' faces, grabbing face masks, hitting, doing the old thing like good job. Prowl was calm the whole game. I think what it is a lot of the team is following that. Yeah, you need to be cool under pressure, but sometimes you gotta, as we say it on this program, like you gotta let your nuts hang. He's got to let his nuts hang in somebody's face. The prime opportunity, especially as bad as run fits would have been, was getting after Will Johnson when he missed that fit on that first touchdown run. Like, literally, come here. Why are you looking where the quarterback's going? You are in B gap. You get the fuck to B gap, and you stop his ass. I don't care if you just get an arm or if you get a part of a leg. Guess what that's going to do? That's going to make cleanup a lot easier 10 yards down the field than it is 61 in the end zone. Anything else from Saturday?
I'll play for you anytime, Curtis. Jesus.
A good Curtis rant is always a fun thing.
Yeah.
I thought about playing for Curtis until he just said somebody needs to let their nuts hang in somebody's face.
I didn't say hang in anybody's face.
I promise you did. No. Well, you go back and listen to this. Brian, you better not edit it.
I'm not editing out the teabag. I'm not editing out the teabag, man. Teabag stays in.
What else did we see from Saturday that was bad?
I mean, we went through bouts where weren't getting consistent pressure. I mean, I know they weren't throwing the ball very much, but I feel like since ODU, I haven't seen the consistent pressure that I want to see. I think we're getting some hurries, but we're not getting home and getting those sacks and getting them in long down and distance situations that would benefit our team and help on those downs where we're surrendering these long ass runs. They might be throwing the ball if we can get them in 3rd and 12 and 3rd and 9 consistently.
Right.
I got one more piece for y'all. And we're not the worst team in the country. We're not in the bottom 10. I think we're like 72nd. But it's the penalties, and it's the stupid penalties. 6 false starts. 6 false starts.
We're regressing there again. We're regressing there again.
Back to regressing there again. And then we had a couple offsides. And I know I got 2 guys here. One played D-line. They both played on the offensive line. That's them. Y'all said it before, Tally and Brian. Like, that's not coaching. No. That's you. You're supposed to do your job. You know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. That's thinking too much about other stuff and not staying focused on what the task at hand is. Because and I know they're practicing enough where, from a mental rep standpoint, this should not be a problem. I'm not concerned about that, because if you're repping it and you're repping these situational calls where you're going on a different count or you're doing this, even in a hostile environment like Marshall, I know that's not hostile. I'll use quotes here. It's a road game, right? So, I mean that really shouldn't be a problem. That is you thinking too much about your assignment, or you got beat last time and you're trying to get one back and all this other stuff, and now you're doing too much. Do less.
It's fear. That's what it is. I hate to say that as an offensive lineman, tight end, a lot of times jumping off sides is fear. Or if you've seen even like wide receivers where somebody jumps at them and they flinch, it's fear, because you're reacting to what's going on around you or what the other person is doing. I've talked about it before. When you're on that line, it's a lot of stuff that's being said. You got the quarterback making calls. You got your center supposed to be calling some things out. You got their defensive captain, probably linebacker, making some calls. You got your lineman switching and moving, and you got linemen that's probably talking shit. And if I did to 70 what 55 did, I would be saying, do y'all know what I'm about to do?
I'm going to go kill your quarterback.
I'm about to fuck y'all up again.
We're going to get some Alvin Mack quotes in here real quick.
Exactly. Like, man, We don't even talk about this movie right now. But listen,
Well, last piece
you
I
can
got.
see the fear. You see the fear on our offensive line, and I think is what pisses me off. Go ahead, Curtis.
Well, the last piece I got, and it goes back to something we talked about probably 20 minutes ago now, is we are having another, again, lack of complementary football.
Mm-hmm.
Because we force a turnover, we get nothing. We have a string of them going 3 and outs, we get nothing. Pride keeps preaching it, complementary football. Eventually, you got to do something. And the thing is, everything, we're kind of leading up to this, right? It's great. Those 4 drives, they could not run the ball. They could not pass the ball. But you know what? You were so conservative and you were tight, you didn't attack. You didn't attack. Just like y'all were talking about, somebody put on here a little while ago, why didn't we take a shot on first down when we were right there after the turnover? That's your prime time, take a shot. So it's this whole, if you want complementary football, you've got to do the right things in those points. And right now, we're not seeing it. And the bad thing is we're seeing pieces here and there. All right, y'all got anything else on what went bad? Because I think we just went 20 minutes or 25 minutes on what went bad.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll finish one more thing here.
Wrap it up, and let's take you to the next one.
Yeah, you talk about the complementary football, but it's also it's like we can't seem to do each of those. Like you have buckets of things you have like you do every week, right? These are the things we need to do this week, and like one bucket will look good for a quarter, and another bucket will look good for a quarter, another like a different quarter, but we're not piecing together. Other than like coming out of the gate in the first quarter, we didn't ever piece the rest of the game together where all of those buckets were kind of working in sync.
Yeah. And that was only for like a couple of possessions in the first quarter too, It wasn't even, I know it was a pretty quick quarter, but it was really just those first, it was the one offensive possession where they, go out and score, get the interception, and then that was about it. Then it just kind of stopped, right? Especially on the offensive side.
All righty. All right, let's move on to the next one because we've talked enough about that. We probably could talk another 15 minutes about it, but eventually we have to move on. We have a lot more stuff to talk about. And the next piece is, did anything happen that you were not prepared for? I'm going to just tell you all this. Nothing shocks me anymore right now with this team.
Nope. Nope.
And Mike's with me.
Well, I got kind of a positive. I got a kind of positive one that I was really prepared for.
Okay.
So we haven't seen a lot of drones,
No, we haven't.
Him coming from Baylor and then him practicing, and this is not to pat him on the back because he still has to get better, but I was shocked at how strong he is. If you watch some of his runs, he's starting to fall forward. On that touchdown run, he wasn't supposed to score. I mean, he was locked up and he broke out of there, and not only did he break out of there, he accelerated. So that kind of shocked me. Now that takes me to kind of another point. Once you start seeing somebody game, once you start seeing somebody be a gamer, you got to build off of that. If you see that he has that, you got to let him cook. You got to let him do that. Hey, man, you remember in the first quarter where you got bottled up and that you didn't go down, you kept your legs turning? I need that. We need 3 yards. That's what we got to see. I'm going to ask a question to y'all, because I don't know the answer. I wish I had Shelton here. How many offensive coordinators and quarterback coaches are in the booth, like across college football? Do y'all know?
I do not know that. I'll effort it while y'all talk about it.
Well, it just seems to me, because of what Tebow is supposed to be. He's coaching the quarterbacks, and they said, oh, he's close to those guys. And you have a quarterback there now in Kyron Drones that has been playing, that's very young, but his skill set is a little bit different from somebody like Grant. Would it not help if he's there on the sideline and can talk to him and see what he's seeing, and they can have that commentary instead of he get off, you got to pick up the phone. I don't know, man. It's a lot of stuff that goes on in that coaching staff that I don't understand.
This is where having Bowen beat both the OC and the QB coach, I think, becomes a little bit of a problem. I think because of what you just said. And that's a really good point. That's something I actually hadn't even thought about. And there are a lot of reasons why. So I was actually originally okay with Bowen being the quarterback's coach. Like, I didn't love it, but I understood it. Now I'm not as big of a fan of it. And Tally, I think that was a great point. And now it's making me wonder, like, I'm good with the OC being in the booth normally, right? Sees the whole field, all that. But usually you got the quarterback coach on the field, right? You got,
Right.
you know, you used to have Glenn on the field to sit there and, you know, talk to Wells last year. Don't have that anymore. So, yeah, I don't know what the right answer is there, but that's a great point.
And I think that would be okay if you had a experienced offensive coordinator and an experienced quarterback coach, but Bowen is neither right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that double whammy. And as someone that has been on the sideline and been in a booth in a game situation,
Talk about you in the booth.
I hated being in the booth.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an energy guy. I need the energy of the sideline to kind of get in the right mindset and like get hyper focused on what I'm seeing. Being in the booth, it was too detached from that for me. And I feel like when you've got a inexperienced quarterback, you've got an inexperienced coordinator, and he's inexperienced at coaching the quarterback position, any way that they can engage more dynamically on the sideline, I feel like would be a good thing in terms of both Bowen's growth and Drones' growth.
Right.
Yep, I'm with you on that, and I think y'all make really good points across about he needs to be down there. But the question is, who do you put in the booth then? You're gonna have right now. There's only one guy up there because Fontel's on the field, Crook's on the field, and Stu's on the field. And I see it. 4 of the offensive coaching staff members are on the field. It's only Bowen and probably an analyst up in the booth. If you bring him down, who goes up? It's not going to be.
It's got to be Brooks.
It's got to be Brooks. And I don't know how often Brooks has been up there, but I will say this, and you know, Coach Pry, if you listen to this, we still love you. Please come back next year. But let's be realistic, though. We have seen Pry make changes. He's not afraid to do something different. We saw it in the offseason. We've already seen it this season because remember last year, Glenn and Bowen were in the booth. Then Glenn came down later in the season. Remember that to his credit, he will make the changes. And then you just have to decide who goes up. Because right now, if y'all look, it's Fontel is effectively the guy getting the huddle, calling those first set of plays, and sending them to the field.
He's the juice guy. He's also getting the calls in.
But the other thing is, you see a lot of times, and y'all follow a lot of football, usually the wide receivers coach is up in the booth to effectively see what's the backs coverages and to see what routes or should we be running into. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Anything else? Brian, you already mentioned anything else y'all were not prepared for. Tally went positive there.
Trying,
mostly
man.
as positive as you can be after losing to Marshall.
I'm laughing at comments here, so
Yeah, I was reading that too.
Yeah. And Drake
right.
still at it, man.
Listen, we can't fire somebody every 15 games. Y'all got to put that in your head.
Where's the money coming from? Everybody?
Where's the money? Because if we vote him out right now, if you can pay $23.5 million, stroke the check, get him out. Nobody'd have a problem.
Are we still paying? Are we still paying Fuente or
We're
no?
still paying for Fuente.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's still, so if you got $33 million, stroke it to the athletic department. We can get rid of Pry.
Yeah.
The shit don't work like that. You can't just fire. By the way,
we don't have Tennessee booster money.
Shit, Tennessee didn't even do that shit. They gave guys 3 years at least before they fired them. Y'all, this ain't Madden. This ain't college football on your PlayStation. You got to look through the lens of if it goes really bad this year, he's got next year to win a lot of games. And that's it.
Well, I think we also
this year, if he turns it around this year, by the way, Andretti, all love, baby. All love. We get heated, man. We get heated. We want our program to be good because we've seen it good.
And I think the other thing, so we'll say this real quick just to kind of piggyback on that. You know, when we talk about this whole coaching thing, like, I love what Deion's doing in Colorado. That's not something that you can replicate in every scenario across the country. It's like even when you talk about bringing in a former player, like highest profile possible, it's Deion is Deion. Deion's always been Deion.
One of one.
There's like he's one of one, and there's only like maybe 2 or 3 other guys even in that category that took the path that he took to kind of get there, right? So,
well, hold on. You want to talk about Deion? He started coaching high school football over a decade ago.
Yeah.
He started coaching high school football. He did from 12 to 13. Then he went to Trinity Christian, which I believe is a pretty top notch, where he was an OC.
Wagon.
Yep.
Then he went to Jackson State. Deion just didn't jump into Colorado. Deion took this as his path. Deion started this in 2012. Oh, did everybody know that? Did everybody know Deion was coaching high school football in Texas for damn near 8 years before he took the Jackson State job? Nobody did.
If you did, you ain't been paying attention.
Exactly.
But I'll go on a small tangent here just so people understand how, because they talk about the culture and stuff. And I guess I got to be the black spokesperson for this. So a lot of people have hitched their wagon to Deion because how he talks, how he dresses, things that he does with his team, how outspoken he is, which Deion coaches like he played. He's prime time. He's the only person who can do that and get away with that. There's a lot of black coaches out there too. And I don't want to say a lot as in millions, hundreds, thousands, 20, but I'm saying there's a lot of good black coaches out there. You talk about Loxley, you talk about James Franklin, those guys are undefeated right now. When you talk about black coaches being at big time programs, I say all that to say the thing that bothers me about Deion is that I feel that, and I don't want to mess this up, but he's put a target on his back. He's put a target on his team's back, and now they got to live up to it. I know they only won 1 game last year, or no games last year. They've won 3. Great job. But going and getting curb stomped by Oregon didn't look good. And then now you got USC that you got to answer to, and you're a 20-point underdog in that. And then, he goes and he says, well, they better get me now because it's the worst I'm going to be. I've heard that before. And his name was Justin Fuente. That comment doesn't resonate that well with me. So Deion has a lot of work to do with his players and his team if he wants to go to that next level and start to, win those big time games and things like that. Kudos to Deion for what he's doing, though.
All right, y'all. Let's just talk real quick because we've got 2 more things before we hit break here. What can we do better moving forward? Brian, I'm going to let you lead this because we've been talking about 7-0 a lot. And
you got to get Brody at right tackle there. Get Brody Meadows at right tackle. I know he's mostly played guard so far in the season, but when we look at the 2 deep, Brody's listed as the backup left tackle. Okay, but the 2 deep means jack shit for an offensive line. You're really talking about your 5 starters plus 2 guys that you're comfortable with, maybe 3 at the most that you're comfortable with playing in the game. So, given where the depth chart is and where Brody's played, they're essentially using him as a guy that can be kind of a swing tackle, swing guard, can jump in either of those spots when needed. Get him at right tackle, get Parker off the field. He's got lazy feet. He's not great in run blocking. Get him off the field. He is a big time hindrance to both the running game and pass pro at this point. And really disappointing because, by all accounts had a really good spring and good off season. And then, we see a couple things here or there, and now the wheels falling off the wagon again. So, get Parker off the field, get Brody Meadows in there.
Mike, what you got, man?
Just play some complimentary football for the love of God. It doesn't need to be.
Thanks, Coach Bry.
It doesn't have to be that goddamn difficult. Just run the football, stick with it when it's working. If the passing game's working, stick with that. Run fits, clean it up, wrap up. This does not have to be as difficult as we're making it. And it's not. I'm so sick of hearing the talent excuse too. I will look.
Last year, yes.
Last year, yes. Go play Florida State, talent issue, fine. Go play go play NC State later in the year. You want to talk about talent issue, that's fine. the teams that Tech's played so far through 4 games, this isn't a talent thing. This is a coaching thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
it's true.
These are 4 teams that could be had. It wasn't like Virginia Tech was going into these games as a 2-touchdown underdog, right?
Yep.
So
I mean, Rutgers is probably the only team that is close to us in terms of talent. You might give them the slight edge being at home. We shouldn't have got waxed the way we did.
Waxed. The score ended up looking a little bit better than that game actually went for much of the second half. I mean, it was a little comeback at the end there. But
Tally, what about you? What's one thing we got to do better moving forward?
I was going to say it earlier, but you got to give Tootin. You got to give Tootin more run. I did say that part earlier. I don't know, man. Malachi just he doesn't look the same as I remember him looking with just how he's running. So I don't know why we keep trying to go back to him. We haven't seen Chance Black. We haven't seen Bryce Duke. So if we're not going to see them, you got to tell Tootin, look, man, if you're tired, just fall down on the field because you're getting the ball 40 fucking times. If we are moving the ball, you running it. That's what's happening. Give him the ball, man. Give him some run.
Yeah, where has Chance Black been? I feel like he's the forgotten
nowhere
right now.
Nowhere.
He's not been on any. I don't think I've seen 28 on the field at all this year. Now, where's David Cunningham when we need him? David could pull up and tell us if he's had the staff. David, if you're out there listening tonight, throw us in the chat or text one of us. All right, we are a third of the way through the season at 1-4. Obviously, if y'all can't tell, we've went an hour and 3 minutes. We're pissed about the record. We're pissed about all the things happening, right? Y'all are pissed. We see it over here in the chat. Y'all are pissed. And there's people out there not responding that are sending DMs, Twitter, Facebook. Everybody's pissed right now. So I want to ask y'all this. And who did I start with last time? Ryan? Mike, I'll start with you this time. What's the one thing in the next 4 games you have to see?
I've harped enough on the run fits.
Yes, you have.
Offensive identity. What kind of team do you want to be? I get that you have injuries at receiver. You had an injury at quarterback that changed the staff's thinking as far as, what they can and can't do, right? We got to see some sort of offensive identity, right? Jalen Lane, I think, is starting to get healthier. Jennings is going to be out a while, but Drones is the guy, right? I mean, Wells can get healthy, but in my opinion, Drones is the guy. So what kind of offense do you want to be under Kyron Drones? Because you got to figure out here in year 2 when you're in a rebuild and it's not going well, you got to figure out, at least on the offensive side, if Kyron Drones is going to be your quarterback moving forward. That's what you got to decide this year. You got to figure that out. If you're not going to come up, if you're going to lose every game the rest of the schedule, you at least got to figure out who your quarterback is going to be next year. Yep. Because we already have an inexperienced offensive coordinator, we have an inexperienced defensive coordinator, and we have a first-time head coach. We can't miss on quarterback too. You got to figure out who your quarterback's going to be. So we got to figure out offensive identity over the next 4 games.
All righty, Tally, what about you, man? What do you got to see the next 4 games?
I just say making adjustments quicker. I think I see some adjustments on defense and even offense in the fourth quarter. We've seen some adjustments, but those adjustments have to be made a lot quicker than they've been being made. And it's like, it's not stuff that's hard. You know what I'm saying? I won't even say those 2 words that Mike keeps saying. Bum, bum. You got to do those. Like when you see those are gone, you got to go talk and have those and correct them. If somebody can't do that on the field, let's go to somebody else. I'm okay with playing all freshmen and losing every game. I'm okay with Kyron Drones losing every game if we're trying to figure out what we're doing moving forward. You know what I'm saying? If we're putting in offensive linemen that are freshmen and they're getting blew up because our seniors are getting blew up, okay, well, at least we got some run for next year. We can talk about the youth movement, but I need to see those adjustments being made much quicker than they are in the games that we can at least have a chance to win.
There you go. Siegler?
I said it on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck we're calling it now.
Twitter. You tweeted it.
I'll say it again. I need to see 4 quarters of competent coaching and play execution. If you get beat, you get beat. But when you are not executing and when the coaches are not correcting, when the coaches are going away from a game plan that's working, then that's not competent quarterback play. That's not competent coaching. That's not competent execution by the guys in the trenches, the guys at the linebacker core. I need to see 4 quarters of that. Win or lose, get your ass beat, whatever it is, I need the product to look like it's supposed to. And to Mike's point earlier, you know, the offensive identity, I felt like we had some of that against Rutgers. That was kind of, if we could take steps off of what that is, I could live with that offense.
Yep.
Because at least I know what it's trying to do.
Yep.
Well, but we could probably live with the offense that we saw on those 4 to 5 drives at Marshall, where it was like power runs, taking shots, quick slants. It's like a little screen or two. Okay, that's what you are. You're almost like a jab monster throw. That's what you are. You're not just slinging haymakers all the time. All right. I got one before we go to break here. And mine is, it's kind of going to hinder on what Tally said. Make the right personnel decisions regardless of winning or losing. If a senior or junior is just not cutting it, what's Pete saying there? Pete,
do something good.
Hold on.
Please.
I'm going to mess with him right here. Pete, we're punting the ball good. Peter Moore's booming the hell out of it this year. If Peter Moore was kicking like he was last year, we might have lost a few games by more than one score.
Except for that 13-yard punt he did last
I don't
week.
get that. Oh, you're talking about the
killer.
zip one?
He's had two punts this year that have just been like uncharacteristically short.
You know what it was?
And then the rest have been
And
fucking
costly.
boom
And
sticks.
You know
Yeah,
what?
bad time.
Those 2 punts, too, it's like he was trying to kick them as deep as possible, and like it landed at the 3 and then zip back, and you're like, still inside the 15, he boomed the shit out of it. But make the right personnel decisions. If there's juniors and seniors not doing it, because right now I did a data dive. Y'all, offensively, snaps counted, 50% are redshirt sophomores or younger, 50% are juniors. Defense is 53-47 with the older guys. And that's an older guys with a lot of them on the line. And y'all know they do not rotate as much as they do other players. You've got to make it right. Brian's already called for Meadows to right tackle. I'll go one up on you, Brian. We've mentioned a few times on this program, and I don't know if you've been listening to it. Mike, put Jack Hollifield at center, kick Caden Moore back out to guard.
Yes, yeah. You can't. The Moore experiment at center is a fucking disaster.
I don't think it's a disaster. I think he's okay, but he is a dominant right guard.
I will live with having a young guy at center, because at least at that point we'll have a good right guard.
There you go.
Because right now we don't have a good right guard or a good center. So
there you go.
At least get one position right. Yes, I've heard you guys talk about that. You're around the money.
By the way, this is a buddy we went to high school with.
we got who's in the comments, man.
Yeah, who's in the comments, baby?
Yeah, I don't know Mario.
Mario, we didn't know Mario since I was in 7th grade, since Brian was in 7th grade, a long time ago. All right, y'all, before we get into Know the Enemy and we discuss the Pitt Panthers, we are going to take a pause from our digital partners and me.
I can probably save you a lot of money, and I can take a lot better care of you. That's pretty much it. My name is Jeremy Counts, and I'm a pharmacist. I own and operate Main Street Pharmacy here in downtown Blacksburg. My brother's a pharmacist, I'm a pharmacist, my uncle's a pharmacist, my dad's a pharmacist. I remember he would give me M&Ms to count in little pill counters. This is just something I've always done, and I'm just lucky that what I know so well is something that I can do and feel good about it and give back to people. Pharmacies are your frontline defense. Pharmacy's job is to make sure you're getting optimal care for the lowest price possible. Also, we take the pressure off of emergency rooms. I'll tell people immediately when they need to go to the doctor, or I'll tell them if they just need a cream over the counter. If there's something that isn't commercially available, if it's something that's not available in a certain strength or a certain form or anything like that, we'll make it. Tailor-made medications. Some of those options save people a lot of money. What motivates me? I get to take care of people and live in Blacksburg. That's all I need.
As we take a quick break, we'd like to tell you about getting your free website report from our digital partner, Grassroots Digital Marketing Studio. They'll tell you how your website ranks on Google, on-site SEO, and social media. No commitment to buy anything. You can get your free report by visiting grassrootsdigitalstudio.com/free-website-report. Now back to the episode.
All right, we are back, and now we flip our attention to Saturday night, Lane Stadium, 8 o'clock, ACC Network against the Pitt Panthers, also 1-3 coming in. And I take a look here. We got to know the enemy, and we're going to talk on the offense first. I always like to start with the offense first because it's a lot more to discuss. And, Brian, let's talk about the scheme. We got Frank Signetti, someone we're very familiar with, running that offense up at Pitt.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at pro-style scheme. Got some RPO elements mixed in there, but it's pretty straightforward pro-style scheme. They definitely thrive on explosive plays. They want to stretch you downfield. They want to hit you with the big gasher in the running game. They don't quite hit the home run the same way they did last year, and that's part of the reason why they are 1-3 and not coming in at least at 500 or better, because they're not hitting those explosive plays, especially in the passing game.
All righty. And it is something. They also lost their home run threat at running back. And we know that very personally from last year. But let's talk about the quarterbacks first, because right now, not a controversy per se, but if y'all didn't see that UNC game, Phil Dracovic got the shit knocked out of him in the second quarter of that game. He was KO'd for that game. Christian Valou, the 3-star who was originally committed to Penn State, someone Tech flirted with in the offseason, did come in. He did not have a good game against UNC at all. He threw 2 picks. He threw 45%. He looked not good at all. And, Dracovic isn't having a good season also this year. Just over 50% passing, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And the worst part about this, I don't know if y'all have been paying attention, he's their second leading rusher. Like, in as far as attempts go. And I know Phil's a big kid, but Phil was an elite guy coming out. He has not lived up to those expectations. So, Brian, I know you're going to talk about them a little bit. Is there a lot of similarities between these two guys?
Some. I mean, obviously, Christian's not a big body quarterback like Phil. Phil's definitely like that Ben Roethlisberger light type quarterback. Big body, little wiggle. Decent quickness, but he has a big arm, likes to take the shots downfield, shows accuracy at most of the levels of that. Those shots are pretty accurate, but they just haven't had the separation of the playmakers outside to really take as much advantage of that this year, and really been inefficient because of that. And but he had settled in a little bit in that UNC game before he got the shit knocked out of him.
All righty. Mike, who are you expecting to see Saturday night?
I mean, based on that hit, I'm expecting to see Vayu, which I think would be good news for Virginia Tech, actually, because if you could find a quarterback that has looked worse than Phil Dracovic, it's Christian Vayu, at least in a limited sample size. Drakovic's been really bad. I don't know if it's his wrist from 2 years ago or what. He does not look right. Throwing the football. It just does not look like it did in 2020 when he kind of burst onto the scene for BC. I don't know what happened, but he is just not even close to the same guy. So doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence, rolling him out there. Vayu just didn't look comfortable against North Carolina. Threw the 2 picks, very low completion percentage, did not look good. I would expect to see Vayu. I haven't seen any sort of practice reports or anything like that, so I don't know what Dracovic's situation is, but I think either way, if Pitt goes out and throws for 1 million yards in this game, it's an indictment on Virginia Tech's defense, right? We talked about the secondary and the fact that Tech hasn't been stopping the run, and that's why the pass defense is ranked how it is. We all think there's talent in the secondary, no question about it, but this is one of those games where Pitt's going to try to throw it a little bit here. And if they're completing passes deep down the field with these quarterbacks, with how they've looked so far, it's bad news.
Big time. And, talking more about VU, he struggled with that ball placement and decision-making. Not as efficient with the deep ball as Dracovic was at his height. Really not even in that ballpark with what we've seen from him so far this year, which is significantly diminished. But I think from Dracovic's standpoint, I think a lot of it's starting to get mental. He does not handle a pass rush very well anymore. And I think between the injuries to the wrist, the injuries he had last year, and getting really beat up behind that really pretty awful pass pro from that BC offensive line last year, he looks kind of shell shocked. So he just doesn't seem like the same type of quarterback. He showed some willingness to run early in that second half. They really went away from it, especially after he put the ball on the ground with that snap exchange. I'd say he's decent athleticism, probably a little more athletic, kind of getting out of the pocket than maybe a Grant Wells, but not the kind of the top end that you would see from a guy like Drones kind of getting outside there. So he will run, but he did run very effectively in the second half there after he had a couple decent attempts to kind of start that second half off.
Tally, any questions you think you want to add about the quarterback situation up at Pitt we're going to see this weekend?
We need to worry about the running backs. So
all right.
That's all I want to hear about.
Here we go.
He what a great segue. Tally knows how to do this like he's been doing it for years. Professional. And you know
Tally said, fuck them quarterbacks. Let's hear the running backs.
Don't worry about
that. Tally, what did Mike say? 58.5 yards a carry on 2 carries. We ain't worried about throwing the ball. And Rodney Hammond Jr. is the guy we want to worry about. A Virginia kid from Norfolk, class of 2021. He was an 87 ranked guy. He was a top 15 player in the state on the composite, top 20 at 247. And, his career, he's been there, for a couple years. He was sitting behind Izzy Abataconda. That's a name I'll never forget in all my years. Had a little run last year. But, Brian, just me looking at it and looking at the data, they haven't really decided if he's the guy because everybody on that backfield has been getting a little bit of run.
Yeah, everybody's been getting a little run. He's an interesting back. He shows pretty good vision between the tackles. I think the thing that probably stands out the most is that he's very much that type of back that's going to fight for those extra yards, especially for a guy his size, hard to bring down. Not as explosive at the second level as we saw from Izzy last year. So, in theory, we shouldn't be giving up 300 yards rushing to a player this year. So, in theory,
just you wait.
But I will say Hammond is probably better out of the backfield catching the ball and making stuff happen in space than Izzy was on that regard. So, look for him to catch a few balls out of the backfield. He's done that a couple times this year. Remember looking at the tape last year, the West Virginia game where he had a big reception go for a touchdown in that game. So he's got that capability. But if we can get our run fits, we should be all right, which I'm not very confident about.
I'm not confident at all. Mike, Tally, y'all got anything for Brian here? Anything y'all want to add about Rodney Hammond or any of the running backs down at Pitt?
He's a good player. Just tackle him.
Just tackle him. And that's the point. It's just tackle him. Because we're hearing right there what Brian said. He's not the burner. Ali is a burner. You say what you want to say. Racine Ali is a burner. He gets upfield. He gets the gap. He can go. I'd be interested. Listen for Fleemeister and Carter. Those are other two guys have been getting run in their backfield. They only trail Hammond by about 17 carries. So if you do the math over 4 games, that's only about 4 different carries a game. And I know Hammond's biggest game came against UNC where he got 89 yards on about 15 carries.
And they've historically been kind of a ride with the hot hand at running back type team. We saw that Hammond was kind of the hot hand against some of the tape I watched last year with Pitt. They rode him a couple games. I know Abanikanda was banged up one of those. But they have a willingness to ride whatever is working in the running back game. So, if it's working, they're going to keep that guy in unless he needs to come off for a blow.
All right. Let's flip next and let's go to Kanata Mumpfield.
Boom. Nailed it, Curtis.
Did I really? Usually I screw those up completely. So, a 6-foot, 175-pound wideout came to Pitt via the transfer portal, I believe, from Akron, right? He come from Akron? He came from Akron. And so far this year, leading the team, 16 receptions. He only has 183 yards. Yep, it was Akron. Thank goodness I got that right. Got 500 yards last year over about 60 receptions. So he does look like he is their sort of Is he their number one, Brian, or is he just a part of the offense?
He's their number one wideout.
Okay.
But they haven't had a ton of success in the passing game so far this year. So he's kind of more of their stick mover. Not really a consistent deep threat. Again, they haven't really established that this year the way they have in the years past when they've been a little bit of a better passing team. And he does most of his eating in that kind of short to intermediate range. They'll use him on screens, slants, occasionally see a dig here and there. So that's kind of his bread and butter. So he's mostly a guy that they're going to use to move the sticks. The next guy we're going to talk about is kind of the guy they've taken most of the shots with this year.
And who's that, Tally?
So the next guy is their tight end, Gavin Bartholomew. He was a three-star athlete out of, I'm not even going to try to say the name, somewhere in Pennsylvania, PA, class of 2021. Give me 1 second here. I had it pulled up. Like Brian said, they've been using him and kind of taking shots with him. He is right at about 216, I believe, on yardage this year. Getting it pulled back up here quick.
So he's on pace for somewhere around 700 yards receiving.
Yeah, he's a tight end. He's a big target at 6'5", 250.
It's a big boy.
Yeah, big tight end. He's 9 receptions, 260 yards, averaging right at 24. Yeah, right at 24 yards a catch. And
That'll play.
That will play.
1 touchdown already. And again, from last year, just going over his year to year, last year he had 21 catches for 283 over the whole season and 2 touchdowns. And this year he's already got 216.
Yeah, and some of that is the fact that the wide receiver group has dropped off a little bit. Some of that is just he's developed into a better player. He's like a slightly bigger Kobe Fleener. I don't want to bring up ghosts of bowl games past, but it kind of reminds me of that in terms of the way he plays and the way he likes to get up the seam. They use him a lot up the seam. They'll throw those kind of slot fades, deep crossers, tight end wheels. That's really his bread and butter. That's where he's been getting a lot of that yardage. So definitely more of a big play threat than the typical stick mover red zone threat that you see from your typical tight ends. And I'd say he's deceptively athletic. When you look at him on tape, he doesn't look like very unassuming in terms of his athleticism, but it jumps off the more you watch.
Absolutely. All right, let's quickly hit their offensive line. And Mike, let me hit you with this before Brian breaks into it. It was announced yesterday, all ACC tackle Matt Goncalves is out for the season.
Killer.
How big of a loss is that for Pitt right now?
Big deal because they have a pretty good offensive line. It's a killer. You lose an all-conference lineman. Those aren't easy to replace, right? I mean, We're talking about the Virginia Tech offensive line, and there's nobody sniffing that, right? So,
it's true.
Yeah, it's an absolute killer. And Pitt does have a pretty decent offensive line. They've gotten better as the season's gone along too, and we could talk about the issues with Dracovic and everything else, and the run game issues that has kind of been with Hammond. It's kind of been fits and starts this year. But I chalk that up more to play calling than the actual offensive line. The offensive line's pretty solid.
Yeah, that was my takeaway too, looking at them. I mean, they're not elite. Goncalves is definitely the most elite on that line, but as a unit, they're not really that elite, but very solid across the board. They do really well at getting to the second level, which, doesn't really bode well for some of the problems we've had with run fits. If they're getting to the second level, getting on our linebackers, we're back to having a former wide receiver being the guy that's coming up to make that play that's going to stop a potential touchdown. So spooky hours a little bit there, but definitely Goncalves going out. That's going to be a big knock to them. We'll see how that impacts pass pro. We'll see how that impacts their running game. So definitely a big loss. So we'll see if that turns out to be something that rears its head in this game.
Before we flip over to defense, Brian, what do you think it affects more with them? You watched some of the tape the last few days. I mean, because you're talking about them getting to the second level. I sit here and think if you've got an elite left tackle, a lot of guys don't have to think, right? Those interior guys don't have to think about anything. It's like he's got it. I don't need to worry about him, and it makes it easy. I know you play with a really good left tackle at Sydney, and I know for you it was just like, get the fuck up field.
Yeah, I mean, Jared Stearns was locked down, so I didn't have to worry about him. But I'd say it hurts more on the pass pro, especially if you're rolling Christian out there instead of Phil, because you're already having a quarterback that probably isn't fully comfortable in the pocket. Didn't show that in the game against UNC. Very uncomfortable in the pocket at times. So not having your all-conference left tackle out there definitely doesn't inspire any additional confidence. So I feel like that's going to be where you'll see the impact the most, but it'll definitely impact the run game as well.
All righty, good deal. All right, we're going to flip over to the defensive side of the ball now, and let's talk about this defense led by Randy Bates, Brian, because I read what you put in here, and I'm just going to close myself.
Sorry, man. I put my own little notes in there just to like make sure I talk the right amount of shit.
Go ahead, say it. Just so
all right. So we got Randy Bates. I mean, he's the coordinator, but obviously this is the Pat Narduzzi invented attacking 4-3 defense.
There it is.
So something that all of us are familiar with, and obviously Pat Narduzzi is very excited that he was able to put something like this together for everyone. But they do love bringing the pressure to rush the quarterbacks and confuse the offensive line. You're going to see a lot of man-to-man outside. We're used to that when we play Pitt. It's going to be you're going to have to win those one-on-one battles if we're going to be successful in the passing game. They will give up big plays because of that aggressiveness. So if we can catch them in a bad blitz, we can catch them in some mismatches in man coverage, we can take some advantage.
All right, let's talk about some of the players on this defense. Let's talk with Dayon Hayes, a 6'3", 265-pound defensive end, top 200 player when he got recruited by 247 back in the class of 2020 out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, out of Westinghouse. And so far this season for Mr. Hayes, 8 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 pass deflected. I always look at pass deflected and talk about it with the defensive end because that means they're not just here. They understand. You see it's about to fire, just get your hand up. Well, you say that again, Tally.
Get them hands up.
Get them up. Mm-hmm. So, Brian, when you took a look at him, what did you see and what can we do? And dear Lord, is he going to be on 7-0 side?
I mean, talent-wise, he's a balanced end, and he is going to be on 7-0 side most of the time, unfortunately. Balanced end, he's really good against the run, good as a pass rusher, sets a really good edge, doesn't get fooled often on kind of those backside contain rolls that you might see. So, we finally ran something. We ran it in and around last week. I don't think he's going to be fooled on that. He's going to sit there, read, and be in the right position to make that play. They do something interesting with him though. When they go nickel, he kind of turns into a roaming linebacker. Depending on what the defensive front call is, he'll kind of work in there, standing in the backfield, blitz B gap, blitz A gap, sometimes blitz out around the edge. So they kind of use him a little bit differently there in those nickel sets. So that's really interesting to watch. And in terms of tone setter, he got out there and forced a fumble early against UNC that kind of set the tone for that team and put them in contention in the first half before Phil went down and UNC kind of ran away with that the second half.
All right, good deal there. Obviously, if there is a change this week on that side, it'll be interesting to see because it does sound like it would be a good test if there was a new offensive lineman out there. All right, I want to talk about one of the linebackers next, Brian, that caught my eye on the stat sheet along with who he is, and that is Solomon DeShields, 6 foot tall, 230-pound linebacker out of Millville, New Jersey, was a mid 3-star when he came out back in the class of 2020. And so far this year, 21 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and a sack. Where are we seeing him line up? They obviously have lost some linebackers the last few years. Who's he what's he effectively doing there?
Yeah, he's their outside linebacker, essentially the will in this type of defense. He's their blitz specialist. He's the guy that they're bringing on a lot of those blitz calls. Really good in pursuit, attacks the gap really well. Unlike some of our linebackers that we've seen this year so far. So he does a pretty good job there. Good in run fit responsibilities. Where he can get lost is when he asked to cover in the passing game, especially in zone. Not very good there. So usually that's why you see him on passing downs. They're trying to bring him as that fifth or sixth guy coming off the edge on the pass rush.
All righty, good deal there. Again, it's one of those things we're going to talk about in keys in a little while here. What do we do against this team? What do we do against this team? And you hear somebody like him struggling in coverages. Do we have to mix it up with the pass? But Tally, we got one more guy we want to talk about. Someone I'm sure is familiar to everybody.
Near and dear.
The four of us sick.
Obviously, should be near and dear to a lot of Hokie fans. Donovan McMillan. He came out of high school, went to Florida. A lot of Hokie fans, for some reason, thought we were close to getting him. Then he goes to Florida, doesn't work out there, and guess what? He transfers. A lot of Hokie fans went down that road again and thought we were going to get him when he transferred from Florida. No, he didn't. He transferred to Pitt. He is a PA kid. He's from there. He was a mid four-star guy coming out of high school, offers from all over, Georgia, list goes Florida, list goes on and on of all the people that wanted this kid. Very talented. Says this year he's got about 32 tackles. What I thought was interesting, I mean, he's 6'2", 210, so a bigger safety. What I thought was interesting was in that West Virginia game, he had 18 tackles.
Damn.
9 solo and 9 assisted. So the reason I say I find that interesting is, are they getting to that second level? Is he coming downhill? How is he getting in on all these tackles, Brian?
Yeah, man. Let's start by saying, DMC is the one that got away, man.
Yeah,
he's the one that got away. I feel like we've all been chatting. I think when he was getting recruited, and he was one of those infamous silent commits that didn't quite turn out the way we wanted it to. I had dreams of dropping DeLorean memes every time this kid made a big play, and I didn't get to do that, so I'm very disappointed. But really good player, man. Great in pursuit, covers ground really fast. They use him a lot as kind of that middle third in the single high, kind of the half field safety in their primary coverages. So they're a lot of cover 3, cover 1, cover 6. So he kind of plays that role for them in those coverages. And yeah, I'd say he's better against the run, but he's still very active. Sorry, better against the pass, but he's still active in run support. So just a solid all-around player. And really, I'd say elite in kind of playing that deep third coverage.
All righty. So, Brian, let's ask this like Tally was talking about here before we get to Hokie Keys. Is it downhill? Is that where he's making his tackles, or is he coming up in the box, or is he all over the place? Are they letting him free roam, especially? So
thinking about, what West Virginia does, he's coming up and making a lot of plays in those passes and in the run game. So it's more in the passing game, that shot a quick passing game. He's coming up and making those plays there. So that's why you're seeing a little bit more volume pickup against a team like that.
I am very sorry, Brian. We are over here chuckling. You can take a look at the private chat now because we were reminiscing back from 3 years ago in 2020 with DMC there. All right. So that is Pitt. A lot of players you should know. Obviously, we can't cover them all, but we're going to get to the Hokie Keys now. As always, we have 4 Hokie Keys. I'm going to let our guest, Mike McDaniel, lead us with the key he felt most important this week.
Let drones cook in the running game. Let them cook.
I agree.
It does not have to be. I've mentioned this earlier tonight. It does not have to be difficult. If he's running the ball well downhill, let him run the ball. All right. I understand we don't want drones to run 25, 30 times a game. Totally get that, right? I think he ran it 22, 23 times against Rutgers.
Yep.
Probably a little too many, right?
Uh-huh.
If you get him in that 13 to 17 range, right? Where
15 last week.
I think that's his sweet spot. But a lot of those came later in the game, right?
Yep.
Real good early on, went away from it, came back to it. Offense saw some success. Let him run the ball. Let him get comfortable. Set up the passing game. Doesn't have to be hard.
All righty. There we go. Let drones cook. All right, Tally. What's yours this week, man?
I'm gonna jump on what he's saying as well. Whatever's working on offense, stick with it. I mean, don't overthink it. Whatever's working, keep doing it. If Drones is killing them with his legs, let him kill them. If we're throwing short passes and we're dinking and dunking down the field, let's keep doing it. You know, let's not just say, okay, we did this, that worked. Let's see if this will work. No, we ain't got time for that. Continue doing what works, offense.
There you go. There you go. Sigla, what's yours, man?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but limit those explosive run plays, man. I mean, that's what we got to do. We got to have the safeties coming up in the right fits in the run game. We got to get more tackles for loss from our defensive line so we can put them in down and distances that hurt them. So they can't gash us in the run game on third down and get those big runs that not only move the sticks, but also are putting them in scoring range where they're putting points on the board if they're not already scoring on the run anyway. So that's what we got to do. If we can limit the explosive plays in the run game, I think what we're showing is that we have the ability. We're not consistent. We aren't doing the right things all the time.
Yep. We're not doing the right things all the time. All right, I'm going to throw this one out for you, y'all, because of kind of what Pitt is. Pitt roughly ranks in the atmosphere of NCAA college football. They are directly in the middle when it comes to converting third downs. They're about 41%. And I'm going to be honest, if we can kick them to 41% or less, that's going to be a key. Get them off the field every 2 of 5 times there's a third down, or 3 out of 5 times. You're going to win this game doing that. If we let it become like it did last week, where early Marshall went like 5 for 7. They came back to earth in the second half, but they didn't need it in the second half. They didn't need it in the second half. Y'all are cracking me up too. Seeing all the sorry, y'all. Y'all don't. We've all been together for close to 4 years now, so there's a lot of stories in this chat. So get them off the field on third down, stick them to their average, or put it below. If it starts creeping above, we're going to be in trouble. All righty. So now we've got our prediction and our big screeners. Mike, you'll get to pick the big screeners too. You can just have some fun because you never make picks. But
no, it's not something.
You never make picks.
No.
Big Screamer segment is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app where you can make entries based on players' projected outcomes. This week, Thursday night, my first one, Sam Laporta, the young rookie tight end with Detroit. It's at 42.5 receiving yards. Take the over. He has been lighting it up. Green Bay, if Derek Carr doesn't go out Sunday, they do not win that game. My second one, because he's on my fantasy team and he needs a touchdown this week and he's playing one of the worst teams in the league, Justin Jefferson is a touchdown or no touchdown. He is going to score a touchdown this week. Remember, Prize Picks will match any deposit up to $100 when you sign up with our code BCPICS. That's BCPICKS. Or use that QR code if you're watching us on YouTube tonight. Click it right there. It'll take you right to it. Or the Boundary Corner page, /BCPicks. All righty. We'll start with our Hokie predictions first. Mike, again, you're the guest. What are you feeling on the game Saturday?
It's about time that a Brent Pry coach team steps up and just figures it out. We can all agree.
Please.
I think it happens on Saturday night. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think it happens Saturday night. What's informing me of this? The spread makes no sense.
at all.
This Pitt
all.
team, listen. This Pitt team is not very good. It's better than Virginia Tech, right? Why is Pitt only a 2.5-point favorite? And don't tell me it's because they think Christian Veilleux is going to start a quarterback. This thing opened at 4.
Yep.
What? Makes zero sense. Pitt has had a love-hate relationship with going to Lane Stadium. And for some reason, ACC Network decided this was going to be a primetime game on Saturday night. Give me the Hokies outright.
Ooh.
17-16 Virginia Tech in a very ugly, low-scoring, disgusting, gross game. Spread makes no sense. Give me the Hokies.
On a rock fight. All righty. Let's see if we're as optimistic as Mr. McDaniel is down here. Tally, who you got?
Yeah, man. Mike made some great points. You know, like he said, the spread makes no sense. I was looking at it. I'm like, man, that's kind of crazy. So guess what I did? I picked Pitt because our coaching staff is not making no sense. Pitt to the win. Pitt's going to cover. 24-17 Pitt.
Brian?
I mean, it's already up there. I got Pitt too. I'm going to cover too. I got 27-20 Pitt. I can't trust our run defense to not allow big plays yet, and I still need to see the offense put 4 quarters together. And I'm at a point now in this season where until I see it actually happen, I have a hard time picking Virginia Tech. So, Pitt.
All right. Did you get Shelton's?
Yep.
What's he? He's also saying Pitt. I don't think we got the score from him, but he said Pitt's winning the game. I'm sorry we're going all against you, Mike, here, but I'm with them. I'm fading the Hokies until I see a lot more out of them. I do think it's going to be ugly. I'm with you. I'm not as high scoring as these two guys are. I think the Hokies cover, but I think they lose a heartbreaker 21-20.
I'm not even like an optimist, and for some reason, I just have a feeling about this for some reason. So
I hope you're right.
The Mike McDaniel gut feeling. I gotta see if that plays out, man.
It's gone forehand against me, so we'll see.
It is what it
is. Curtis, you said you think the score is going to be 21-20?
21-20.
So you think the Hokies cover?
I think they can cover, but we're still going to lose. It's going to be all some screwed up ass play, probably, knowing our luck. Just the way everything's going this year. All righty. We got more big screeners because, we're at a point in our lives. We can curse and be mad at our team and throw shit after the game, but we can still watch other games. I did last week. Had some scotch. Had some scotch after the game. So let's start with the first one here. Tally, you leading us off. He's definitely watching USC, Colorado. I think that's a high noon kick.
Oh, yeah. I talked a little bit about it earlier, man. These people smell blood in the water, Dion. You better get your team right because Caleb Williams is coming in there, and he's definitely going to cover, and they might score 60 points. It's my opinion. That Colorado offensive line has not been good. Everything that Shedeur Sanders has done has kind of been him making plays, in my opinion. I think they're the most sacked team or one of the most sacked teams in the nation, which is crazy because they're higher than us. But, again, no knock on Colorado. They are building a team, but I think USC is going to smoke them.
All right, Brian, what you got?
I'm taking the Trojans in this one too. What I saw against Oregon, against a competent rush that also has a back end that can cover, was not very pretty. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that. I don't think it's quite as lopsided as that Oregon contest, but I think it definitely covers that 21.5. So give me the Trojans.
All righty. Go ahead and throw Shelton's up there. Because me and Shelton are on the same page. Colorado is not going to win this game, but they're going to cover. Y'all, it's Lincoln Riley. His teams don't play defense. They eventually going to get in a shootout. By the way, it's 73.5 over-under.
Over.
Oh, my God, over. Oh, my God, over.
Way over.
This game's going to be like, Tally, you ain't wrong. I think USC gets to 60, but I think Dion ain't far behind at like 45. That game's will hit 100.
Yeah.
You got any picks on this one, Mike?
I like Colorado to cover because of exactly what you just said, Curtis. The USC defense, man. If Lincoln Riley ever fires Alex Grinch and gets a real defensive coordinator, USC is going to be cooking with some gas, I think.
We'll see. I think it's just a Lincoln thing. I don't think you know what I don't think Lincoln Riley knows how to do, y'all.
What?
I don't think he knows how to play complimentary football. He just wants
Oh.
to all the time.
What makes you say that?
Wherever he's been, he has some of the most impressive defensive talent, and he cannot stop anyone.
That's correct.
Hey, we need a 6-minute drive here. We're up 2 touchdowns. I'm going to try to score in 3 seconds.
Can't do it, won't do it. Yep.
Exactly. All right. I'm going to go to my game next. Friday night, 2 teams the Hokies will see, which are NC State and Louisville. This game is down at Carter Finley Stadium on Friday night, and we got a home dog here. We got a home dog, and I think this is going to be a fight. I think this is going to be the best defense Louisville has seen all year. I think Louisville has flaws on the defensive side of the ball. We saw that against Georgia Tech when you give up 28 points to that dreadful Georgia Tech offense. It says a lot about you. So give me NC State. I think NC State takes the win and the cover. Tally.
Tally. Okay.
Yeah.
Tally's
All
right,
right, baby.
Yeah, I think you or North Carolina State will win and cover here as well. That linebacker, man, he's something else. Another one that we almost got him. Peyton Willis.
Peyton
Wilson. Yeah, Peyton Wilson. Another we almost got him. Like, that dude is a baller. I think that they play some defense and go in and win this.
What we got there with Brian? On train here.
I got the Wolfpack pulling this one out too. I just think it's going to be enough defense to slow down some of what Louisville's doing offensively, and I think they'll be able to pull it out. NC State, always solid defense. So defense is going to win you that game, I think.
All right, throw Sheldon's up there. He's going Louisville.
He faded us.
Mike, are you fading us or are you with us?
Nah, NC State outright. Defense. Yeah. This is the first real good defense Louisville's played.
Yep, and we already seen Louisville's offensive flaws, so he's going with us.
And we already said that Louisville is playing probably the easiest schedule of any ACC team this year. So
up to this point, yeah, we did say that.
It is so ass.
It's so bad.
Oh,
all right.
God.
By the way, one team that kind of has not played an ass schedule is Duke. They've knocked off Clemson. Now they get a chance to take on the Golden Domers in Brian's big screener of the week. It'll probably be on his 52-inch point. Which one? Which one's it going to be on?
That
one right there.
I got the 55er here. I got another 52er up here, so it'll be on the 55er.
Right. 5.5 point line. He says Duke.
I'm going with Duke. I mean, really? I'm not sure that Duke wins this outright, but I think this is a field goal, last minute, taking the lead game type of situation for Notre Dame. I think this is going to come down to the wire, and it's either going to be a field goal late to break a tie or a touchdown late to take the lead back from Duke.
All right, I'm going to be nice. Mike, I'm going to throw yours. What do you got on this one?
I want no part of this one. Notre Dame in a letdown spot after we saw what happened last year, right? Notre Dame lost to Ohio State and it bit him in the ass the following week. Marshall,
yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mike says he's not. Are you making a prediction, or are you just throwing this one off your board?
Notre Dame.
Okay, Notre
Dame. They're better.
Right.
I'm just gonna go with Notre Dame here.
Tally.
I'm going with Notre Dame, and the only reason that I'm going with Notre Dame is because I wanted to go Duke, but I have been horrible at picking. If you go back and look over the weeks, so I just went with the opposite team I was going to pick.
What I feel in my gut, I'm going the opposite way.
I'm going the opposite way
because my gut ain't treating me nice lately.
Nope.
Sally said he fading himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Fading himself.
Who's Sheldon got on this?
Notre Dame.
I'm with everybody else, Brian. Give me Notre Dame 5.5. And it's not so much that I don't think Duke's a good team, but we saw the Clemson game. Clemson should have probably beat them by 14 points. You turn the ball that many times over inside your 10-yard line, you're going to lose. I don't think Notre Dame gets that. Mike, you put a good point. They are in a bad letdown spot, but the way that game, even a worse letdown spot because legitimately 10 defensive players missing a defensive lineman exactly where Ohio State ran that ball on literally the last play of the game. But I think they bounced back. By the way, game day is in Duke, and now game day, the only spot they have not been is what? UVA? It's like 2 spots now. Like it's every AC school but UVA now has gotten a visit from game day.
Yep.
After today. All righty. I think this might be the funnest game of the weekend. Kansas, Texas. Texas is a 17-point favorite. Mike, we're going to let you lead this one, man. What do you think with this crazy game, which I think is this in – make sure it here. This is in Austin. This is at Royal.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Texas. This is when your 5 stars just pull away. Kansas is very well coached, but there comes a point in time where you're not going to be able to defend Texas for 4 quarters. Texas has been really impressive.
They have.
And Kansas is a good team. They're 4-0. They're a good team. Like Texas, they should have the attention of this Texas team.
All right. What's Shelton got on this? This is the one he wanted to pick. He's going Texas. He's with you, Mike. Tally?
I'm going to go Kansas. For the same reason that I went Notre Dame. Because I seen Texas. I think I was the only one to pick Texas against Alabama. I thought Texas was a great team. I thought they were going to go in and win. I think they're going to win this game. Hell, they're probably going to cover. That's what my mind said. So I said, fuck it. Let's go to Kansas.
The opposite bets of Jonathan Talley this week. Yep. Listen, I'm going Kansas here. One reason. Y'all know what's next weekend?
What?
Let's go to the Texas State Fair. It's the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma, last time in the Big 12. I think they overlook Kansas a little bit where this is a tighter game. Mike, you're right. 5 stars prevail in the end by like 10-13, but I think Kansas can cover. And I think this is going to be an entertaining, high-scoring game. Yeah, that's mine. Brian?
I'm going KU too. Kansas is going to have a backdoor cover there at the end.
What's the score then?
Oh, give me like 42-28.
I got you. That makes sense. All right. Next game, last game. This is none of ours, but we just always choose one extra game. Friday night, 9:00, Utah, Oregon State in Corvallis. Utah, the hottest team in the Pac-12. By the way, this will not be a high-scoring game. This will be a lot of hitting.
17-16.
17-16. There's Mike right there. 17-16 who?
17-16 Oregon State.
All
Utah's
right.
quarterback issues finally I don't want to call them issues. They've won every game they played. The quarterback situation finally catches up to Utah.
All righty.
They cover though.
They cover. Brian?
I've got Oregon State here. I think this is going to be, as Mike said, a game where the quarterback catches up with them. I think that Oregon State can generate just enough offense against that really good Utah defense to kind of stretch out that 3.5 to about 6 points.
All righty. I'm next on this one. I'm going to go Utah. I like Utah. I think Utah's the better team regardless of quarterback situation. We don't know. It seemed like that, Cam Rising is close to coming back. If the game was Saturday, there's a chance he probably would be back this week. But I think Utah grinds it out. I think, Mike, you're not far off on that 17-16 score. Stay up till midnight Friday night. Get 2 TVs going. State. Put the other one on. Brian will have his Braves on a TV as well on Friday night, watching these, sipping a little drink. Tally, who you got?
I got Utah winning, man. I think Utah's I would take them straight up money line.
Okay.
Close game. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think just watching Utah at the beginning of the season, play against Florida, I think they're just going to be a very physical team, and they're going to win the game.
All righty. Shelton takes. He's riding with you and the Beavers, so going with the home Beavers there. Listen, Mike, it's been fun, man. We love having you on.
Awesome time.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Great insight, man.
I vouched for it a little bit a couple of weeks ago. I said, let me come on at some point and go on a little rant. You guys let me do that, so I appreciate it.
Anytime, man.
No
Anytime.
problem, man.
We got to let everybody get their rants out. Now everybody's gonna be messaging us. Hey, Mike, guess can I come on too? Well, you got to know how to rant good. Mike knows how to rant good. If y'all didn't notice, he had a 4.5 minute rant on Fitz.
Coherent.
4.5 minutes? Coherent rants. You can have anybody have coherent rants.
That's right.
All righty. I don't think anything's broken. I've been keeping up with Twitter here myself. So that wraps up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast, brought to you by Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg, with our guest Mike McDaniel. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
Check out our website, boundarycornervd.com, to listen to all of our episodes. Check the merchandise shop. Check the BCP pick section to get that code to get some free money. That's on us. If you click that code, they'll double you up. While you're there, follow us Twitter, follow us Facebook, Instagram. Mike left. Y'all know why Mike left? Mike's got to go record his own show now. Yeah. Mike is the busiest man in Hokie podcast land.
We were not lying.
We
this
weren't
man
bullshit.
is doing 2 podcasts that started after 9 p.m. This one going for 2 hours.
We went 2 tonight, boys. Always, y'all all on YouTube. Y'all are with us. A bunch of y'all every week. Click subscribe, please. We ask you for that. Always, we let Jason Long play us in, play us out. Check Jason Long Music out, jasonlongmusic.com out, where he will link to all the music on Apple, Spotify, and his YouTube and Facebook pages. As always, we thank y'all for listening, and let's go.
Hokies!